The heat is back on for a third time in this episode of Revisited. But after huge success with the first two installments, can lightning strike a third time in the massively popular Beverly Hills Cop series? Of course it can. I mean, the formula's there, the main star of the franchise is back, and the poster has a kick-ass roller coaster on it, which is pretty edgy if you're a 10-year-old. So, naturally, nothing could go wrong. Well, look, the franchise has legs, with Part 4 in post-production at the time of writing this episode, and Netflix looking at a summer release for the movie.
Watch your ass out there, okay?
I'm gonna be fine. They love me in Beverly Hills.
It's a popular modern trend in Tinseltown, where legacy characters, or franchises, are being resurrected for final outings, or a continuation of the mythology to keep modern audiences interested in a known and historically lucrative IP. Indy may have not been able to draw a crowd like he used to, despite the, hopefully, final movie in Harrison Ford's role as the adventurer being a fun, batshit crazy, but often dull entry in the series. However, other fan favourites such as Ghostbusters live on, with the well-received and commercially successful Ghostbusters Afterlife in 2021, being followed up by the cool-looking, no pun intended, Frozen Empire, that's set to hit cinemas at the end of March. The point is, if done well, legacy characters and movie franchises can be fun to revisit on the big or small screens. However, if Universal ever dares to reboot, reimagine, or tinker with the Back to the Future series in case something potentially offensive happens in one of them, I'll be livid. But not surprised. Threequels can be somewhat hit and miss, with some movies looking to make a quick buck by rolling out the cast for a cash grab at the expense of a solid movie. Which way did Beverly Hills Cop 3 ultimately go? Well, strap yourselves into the spider ride as we find out here on Revisited.
Thanks for the show.
When Beverly Hills Cop 3 hit cinemas in May 1994, Eddie Murphy wasn't necessarily on a hot streak of success at the box office. Harlem Nights in 1989 divided critics and audiences, to say the least.
I gotta go to the bathroom.
While sequel Another 48 Hours from the following year couldn't match the wit or charm of the first movie. Boomerang in 1992 was fun, but by then Murphy's somewhat smug on-screen characters were maybe starting to grate on audiences. At least, the box office receipts from the time would suggest so. When approached about starring in a threequel to one of his most successful movies, he may have ultimately seen some kind of redemption in the form of Axel Foley, a way to win audiences back. After all, both Beverly Hills Cops 1 and 2 are riotously entertaining in their own right. We all love a fish out of water story, and Murphy's arrogant, witty, and charming central character is a blast to have seen at the time, and also to revisit years later. So surely with a decent director on board, check. Murphy's return, double check, plus fan favourites back and a cool story, triple ch. Actually, I'm not sure I can confirm that one. Anyway, most of the ingredients were there for a rollicking roller coaster, pun intended, for Part 3. When asked in 1989 about whether he would star in a third instalment, Murphy poured scorn on whether or not his return as Foley would be some kind of redemptive triumph, saying, "There's no reason to do it. I don't need the money and it's not going to break any new ground. How often can you have Axel Foley talk fast and get into a place he doesn't belong?" But these motherfuckers are developing scripts for it. They're in pre-production. The only reason to do a Cop 3 is to beat the bank, and Paramount ain't gonna write me no check as big as I want to do something like that. In fact, if I do a Cop 3, you can safely say, "Oh, he must have got a lot of money." Okay, I guess he wasn't that keen then, but I'm sure the reported $15 million salary that Murphy was offered did indeed beat the bank. Despite Murphy having reservations about kicking some ass and wisecracking his way to that reported $15 million paycheck, the production did have its director in place, and he was, on paper at least, a solid choice, John Landis. Best known for hairy werewolf makeovers, Landis had already directed Murphy in 1993's Trading Places and 1988's Coming to America.
Yes! Yes!
But up until Beverly Hills Cop 3, he had mainly teamed up with Michael Jackson, again, for some nifty music videos. Also, as we'll delve into a little later in this video, the relationship between Landis and Murphy wasn't too healthy. So with the man in the director's chair chosen and the main star eventually on board, the production could go ahead. But a multitude of script revisions and the availability of key actors had to be ironed out.
Hey, Taggart, where is he? I'd love to say hello to him.
Then you'll have to fly to Phoenix. Taggart's retired. Spends his days lost in the woods looking for his golf balls.
Early script drafts would see Foley, Taggart and Rosewood travel to the good old UK to rescue Captain Bogomil, who had been kidnapped and held hostage by terrorists during an international police convention. I guess this is a little too close to the plot of the second movie, which saw Bogomil gunned down by the Amazonian Bridget Nielsen. Plus, the pre-production stage slowed down to such a degree that both John Ashton and Ronnie Cox had to drop out due to filming obligations elsewhere. Intriguingly, however, in an interview from 2012, Ronnie Cox revealed another possible reason, saying, "They wanted me to be in Beverly Hills Cop 3, but I read the script. It wasn't looking good for the threequel, even at that early stage." Fortunately for all involved, Judge Reinhold was back as gun-loving detective Billy Rosewood, plus another franchise favourite in the late great Gilbert R. Hill as the tough-talking Inspector Todd. However, that's just about as notable as the cast gets, unless you count an appearance by John Travolta's older brother Joey.
Wonderworld.
Thankfully, the art world's best espresso maker Serge is back, but could he save the threequel from falling into the trend of Part 3's often being, well, terrible?
No way.
I don't believe this, Arkwell!
During the time that Beverly Hills Cop 2 was released, it was pretty much guaranteed that a new Eddie Murphy movie would equate to box office gold. Such was his own golden touch when it came to picking a good project.
Want the knife?
Which brings us nicely to what is, arguably, a serious misfire for all involved. It was considered a surprise that Murphy had agreed to fill the wisecracking shoes of Foley again, and even more surprising that he would do so under the direction of John Landis. During a press conference in New York to promote Coming to America, Murphy was asked if he would ever consider working with Landis again, to which he replied, "Vic Morrow has a better chance of working with Landis than I do." This somewhat tasteless comment refers to a horrific accident during the shooting of the segment Landis was directing for the Twilight Zone movie, in which Morrow and two young child actors died. Landis was eventually acquitted of involuntary manslaughter, but this just shows how fractious their relationship really was. This may also explain why the threequel is a largely soulless, expensive, sporadically entertaining mess that tarnished the name of what was once a hugely enjoyable franchise. The plot sees Foley investigating a car theft ring, but he comes face to face with the men who kill his boss, Inspector Todd, during a raid on a chop shop.
No!
This leads him to pursue the killers to a theme park, where they're running a counterfeit money ring, and we subsequently get treated to some fairly well staged but lifeless set pieces. The plot also takes a detour to Beverly Hills, naturally, so that Judge Reinhold's Billy Rosewood can tag along. But even the gun-toting detective can't save the movie from threequel obscurity. Unfortunately then, cheap gimmicks replace any real characterization, and what could have been a rollicking die-hard in Wonderworld turns into a lazy, uninspired attempt to round out the franchise. Murphy shoots a whole load of bad guys, which is appreciated. He also swears more than Joe Pesci in Casino.
Drop that fucking gun!
Well, almost. And even dresses up as an elephant at one point, shoving a poor kid into a fountain and calling him a
Oh, you little motherfucker, I'll kick your ass.
You see, Murphy hadn't gone soft. No, far from it. We're supposed to buy into the idea that the movie is the genuine article, a worthy Part 3. But unfortunately, it's simply awful.
He was firing a weapon in the park. My God, there are hundreds of small, innocent children around.
You know they don't give out Oscars in prison, right?
Beverly Hills Cop 3 was released on May the 25th, 1994, and grossed $42.6 million in the US, and $76.5 million at the foreign box office, for a worldwide total of $119.2 million. It opened alongside the equally irritating The Flintstones, which opened at number 1 at the box office, with Beverly Hills Cop 3 languishing in 3rd behind Mel Gibson's Maverick. The film received negative reviews from critics and was considered by them, and Murphy himself, as the weakest film in the trilogy, but also admitting in an interview from 1994 that the movie is different from the trilogy's first installment because Axel is more mature and no longer the wisecracking rookie cop. Landis, on the other hand, was more candid about his experience on this movie, saying that Cop 3 was a very strange experience. The script wasn't any good, but I figured, so what? I'll make it funny with Eddie. But then I discovered on the first day, when I started giving Eddie some shtick, he said, "You know, John, Axel Foley's an adult now. He's not a wise ass anymore." The movie also has a very low approval rating of 11% based upon 56 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, if the stats from that website mean anything to you. As always though, let us know your thoughts on Beverly Hills Cop 3 in the comments. And don't despair because, as I'm sure you're all aware, Murphy is back to redeem the franchise, hopefully, with the upcoming Beverly Hills Cop Axel F, due to be released by Netflix this summer. The main cast are all back, so can the movie successfully put the mess of Part 3 firmly in the past and provide the perfect goodbye for such an iconic character? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you awesome folk next time here on Revisited.